Hey guys, welcome back to the Mill Spill. This is episode 3. I'm Dr. Aaron Miller, fellowship trained in orthopedic manual physical therapist, and I'm here to break another myth. That myth being squatting, and the idea that we cannot squat below 90 degrees. So I'm going to break it down for you guys today, give you examples, some research, and show you some tips and tools at the end. So make sure you stay tuned so that we can break this myth that for some reason we shouldn't squat below 90 degrees. I first want to start off by thanking everyone for watching, sharing, viewing. As you guys know, I just want to spread information that I have experienced in my therapy career about health, wellness, prevention, and keeping the community safe and healthy with the treatment styles and techniques that I've learned over the past 14 years and in my education. So when we talk about squatting, there's this myth that it's bad and terrible and not safe for your knees, hips, and back if you squat below 90 degrees. And it's just not true. When I look at my sons, I have a 5-year-old and a 2-year-old. When I look at them and they're squatting, they can get ass to grass and stay there as long as they want to. And they have no problems, they have no pain, they have a nice flexible spine, it's strong. And you don't have to look farther than that to know that it's something that we should all be able to do. And we have to ask ourselves, there's other types of communities and cultures where they can also squat. You look at the Asian culture, Indian culture, and all over the world, you have people who can maintain squatted positions for as long as they want to. And they can be young, old, it does not matter. They're able to maintain the position, they're able to squat, and it's safe. The question is, why did this myth get started? Well, there's been some research out there that kind of stipulates that squatting is important and it's good for you. The National Strength and Conditioning Association put out a study in 1991 that said it's not only safe, but it's more. It provides a more healthy knee structure if you do squat. The problem with this study is that it did not talk about depth of squat. And there have been other studies since that have come out and talked about the compressive forces that happen at the knee when you squat, as well as the shear forces that can also happen that involve the ACL and PCL, which are the major ligaments of the knee, and the ones that you hear most commonly being injured by athletes and young athletes and really anybody, but that usually results in surgery. So I just want to talk about those forces a little bit, and then kind of give you some tips on how to move better, and as well as how to continue to keep your knee health in order. So what you need to know basically is that in the study with EMGs, squatting below 90 degrees not only improves your strength of your glutes, but activation of your glutes, and it leads to increased power, speed, as well as your vertical jumping ability. Now, the other thing it shows is that the shear forces on the knee as you squat, especially 120 to 50 degrees of knee flexion, actually decreases the amount of shear forces. The most force at the ACL is actually found from 0 to 30 degrees of knee flexion. So some would argue it's actually safer to squat below 90 degrees with this population. As far as with the compressive forces, those have to do with strength at the knee. And it talks about the kneecap itself. There's been a lot of talk on, if you squat below 90 degrees, the kneecap gets jammed, it gets pressed, it gets compressed, and the more you squat, the more pressure's on that kneecap. Well, it turns out that as you bend the knee more, and anywhere between 90 to 100 degrees of knee flexion, at that point, it actually decreases the stress on the kneecap. So again, it shows that the deeper you squat, actually the safer it is and the more healthy it is on your knee. They actually found that runners put more stress in shear and compressive forces on the knee joint than a max squat position. If you're talking about injuries, they did a study with elite US weightlifters where they did full depth squats with heavy load, heavy tension, and velocity, and found that at 1,000 hours of lifting, the incidence of injury was only 3.3 injuries per 1,000 hours. And of those, the most long-lasting injury was 3 weeks. No surgeries, no anything like that. So the bottom line is that you go deep or you go home with squatting. It's healthy, it's safe, and it can actually prevent injuries because that glute is actually working harder. Now, as far as in the physical therapy world, so here's why we see and why we don't think it's safe for people to squat below 90 degrees. And this is only in certain circumstances. If you're young, healthy, and working out and strong, you should have no problem doing it. Now, if you have any history of any chondral or bony changes at the knee, as seen on X-ray, or if it's painful to squat normally, then you have to stay out of those ranges. It's kind of simple. If it hurts, don't do it. That doesn't mean that you shouldn't be able to do it. It just means that you've had a movement that has been going on for such a long time that most likely it's just not used to doing that, and we need to retrain that. So if you're having pain with squatting at any level, you need to make sure that it's not one of these things that are happening. So the first is the arthritic change in the knee. If it's anything moderate to severe, that's going to limit your squatting. Secondly, if you have a movement dysfunction, this is what we see in the clinic way more than anything else, is a movement problem. And that can happen from the knee to the ankle to the hip. And if you move poorly, then that's going to put increased stress at the knee joint no matter what type of squat you're doing. Also, if you have any tendinopathy, so where that patellar tendon, where that kneecap is attached to the bone, that tendon, it can get irritated and degenerative and reactive, which means painful. And this has to come down to the sheer strength of the quad. So you have to make sure you're strong enough. So those are three major things that can happen that if you cannot perform a squat below 90 degrees, please consult a professional, have them look at you, have them identify if there's a problem with the knee joint and how it's moving, how it's positioned, or if there's a movement problem with the hip, knee, or ankle, because that could be an easy fix, and then you could be back to squatting below 90 degrees and doing it powerfully, clean, without pain. So I highly encourage if you have any of those things going on when you squat, you get it looked at and not just try to fight through it or just stop squatting. That's the worst thing you can do, is just stop your movement. We all know that is the worst thing you can do, is not actually exercise. So now I kind of want to go into talking about my corrective movement. So this is how I teach squatting. And all you need at home is a stick. Okay, and you just put this on your back. And the first thing you work on, keeping it flat on your spine, all the way down to your bottom. And all you work on is hinging forward and back. That's the first movement. And the cane stays flat on your spine. Okay, then the next movement is trying to hinge and squat down, keeping that flat on your back. Just like that. Most commonly, we'll see this, or we'll see an excessive arch in the back. Both can indicate that there is a movement problem at the hip, or at the knee, or at the ankle, or that you lack the proper control to perform the movement. And again, this is something that can be assessed by a physical therapist to prevent injury. So please, please, please take a look at this video, try out the exercise, see if it helps your squatting. And I do this before I even load the bar. So try it out, see if you can do it. If you can't, lower the weight, try it again until you can do it properly, and you will see massive gains in your squatting game. So please like it, comment, also check out, I have other videos on my YouTube channel at Miller Time DPT. So find me for other fun, kind of cool videos that I have out there. And please subscribe, because I want to keep continuing to put this information out there for y'all. I hope you liked it, guys. Thanks. Have a good one.